And then there are schooling opportunities where you can go to college for free with a commitment to serve after you finish your college. So, like the military academies, West Point, the Navy Academy, ROTC scholarships would fall in that category. There are also stipends that could cover some of the expenses above and beyond tuition and fees. So, a housing stipend or a book stipend are current. Are some of the benefits that come along with the tuition and fee waiver. So you may be able to go totally free, all of your expenses covered. And then lastly, if you've borrowed loans for your education, but then go in the service or did it at the same time, you can qualify for a deferment on paying your loans back while you're in the service. And you might qualify for public service loan forgiveness and get some of your loans forgiven because you're serving the country. In the service. So those are all the different categories that I could think of when we came to this topic.
Mm-hmm. And so, how does one qualify? I mean, is it just signing up for the military? Do you have to serve a certain number of years?
I wish there was an easy answer to this. It really varies depending on the program, depending on your time you entered, what years you started serving, how many years you were on active duty, or if you're a Purple Heart recipient. Lots of different qualifying factors. I'm not going to pretend to know half of them. I did some digging around, and I'm like, this is very complicated. But basically, it's when you served, how long you served. But keep in mind these benefits that the military member can qualify for can also pass on to their spouse or child. So the
Mm-hmm.
post 9/11 GI Bill is the one we hear most about now. So any active duty members after September 11th, 2001 can qualify if they've done a certain amount of time, can qualify for these benefits. And it's a percentage. So if you meet the maximum, you can get 100% of your tuition and fees paid at an in-state public school.
Okay, I was gonna
Uh,
ask where. Like, is that,
yeah,
can you get it all at a private school, but it just the in-state public? Okay,
right. And
that's still
they
great.
Right, and if the service member doesn't use it, they could give it to their spouse or to their child, whatever
Mm-hmm.
percentage they qualify for, and they could even split it between their children.
Mm.
So here at College Coach, I have had some families who were like, okay, should I save it for my second child? Should I use it for my first? It's kind of a complicated family decision
Mm-hmm.
of number one, how do I qualify? And then how do I use it? And
Mm-hmm.
when do I use it? And who do I use it for? Things like that. So that's some of the qualifying factors, but definitely have to talk to your Veterans Administration to make sure that you qualify.
Okay, so there, that's kind of the place to start is the VA.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Can you ever get help from financial aid offices at colleges?
So the financial aid office at the college may be able to help you, but the most important place is the veterans officer in the registrar's office.
Okay.
Every registrar's office has a veterans officer who signs off on all your documents and says, yes, this person enrolled, and gives the VA the documents that they need to qualify them for the money, including the stipends and the book vouchers and all of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. And so these benefits can be used at any college. It might not all be paid for, as we just discussed, but or are there any limitations? It didn't seem to me that there was. I mean, I've read stories about veterans at for-profit colleges as well as not-for-profit. Like there doesn't seem to be limitations in that way.
Right. You can get any degree, trade or technical program, associate's, bachelor's, master's, even a doctorate degree.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go to any college, but the post 9/11 GI Bill only pays for in-state public.
Okay.
There is now the Yellow Ribbon program, which goes on top of that. So if you qualify for the maximum post 9/11 GI Bill, and you go to a school that's a yellow ribbon program school. So not all colleges will
Mm-hmm.
participate, but if you find one that does and you get selected, they do a first come, first serve selection. So you want to get your application in early, let them know that you're under this program. You could get that tuition and fees covered as well, even at
Mm-hmm.
an out of state public or a private college for
Mm-hmm.
like a master's degree. So it really depends on the school, and you may have to shop around to find the school that's going to cover you the most.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, our last segment was about veterans at highly selective schools, and Brown University, one of the most selective colleges in the country, is a yellow ribbon school.
Hmm.
So don't assume that the school you're looking at is not going to be one. It's a pretty broad range of schools.
Right.
So all right, it sounds like there are a lot of qualifying factors to be eligible for these funds. So, where should a veteran get started to check all this out?
As I mentioned earlier, it would be the VA office,
Hmm.
and I've had to call them when I was a veterans officer at a college, and I know, the red tape that, it's a large organization, so you may have to call several times, you might have to be on hold, you might have to dig through websites, but definitely it's worthwhile to understand it all and not miss out on the great benefit. And then, check with the veterans officer at the college as well. They might be helpful to point you in the right direction.
Yeah, because it does seem like an enormously complex process. I mean, but if every school has one of these, I mean, I think a great place to start might be at a community college, for example, if you're starting by taking classes there.
Mhm.
So like just go to the registrar's office there.
Right, right.
Hmm.
That would be a good idea.
Okay. All right. I'm going to, this is a little bit off topic, but by the way, I am going to put a plug in for community colleges. If you're looking at trades and things like that, we really do recommend the not for profit schools as much as possible at Bright Horizons College Coach. Sometimes your for profit schools are the only ones available. Sometimes they're working with a particular company, in which case, go for it. They can be helpful. But starting with the community college, you're usually going to pay less and you're going to be in a program that is more likely to transfer to other institutions. So sorry to make
Mhm.
you listen to that, Lori,
No,
but
no, that's
whenever
fine.
these come up, like I just always want to emphasize that. And all right, so what about a current high school student who is not a dependent of a veteran? How can they receive funding from the military?
So they can receive funding, but it usually comes hand in hand with a commitment to serve. Of course, the government's not going to pay you to go to school and not get anything out of you in the long run.
Hmm.
So again, that's where the military academy is one. The military academy is totally free. Um, I believe the only thing you have to pay for is your uniforms, but you do have a commitment to serve 5 years of active duty when you graduate as an officer. So it's a great education, but you have that 5 year commitment. You can stay longer, but in order to get it for free, you have that commitment. Same thing with the ROTC scholarship. As you probably know, Sally, my daughter did the ROTC scholarship. She's in the process of serving her 4 year active duty commitment. So although they will pay for tuition and fees, and sometimes the school will kick in room and board, so it can be a very
Hmm.
inexpensive degree, you do have that commitment at the end. If you don't come through with that commitment, you would have to pay the school back. You would have to
Hmm.
pay back all that free schooling that you received over those 4 years. Um, what I think is a little more complicated is enlisting right out of the high school,
Hmm.
and not going to college, but going into the military first. I honestly don't know a lot about that, but what I would recommend is definitely getting all your answers and getting them in writing if possible
Hmm.
before you commit. I have seen students who, out of high school, they commit, they go to boot camp, and they qualify for everything, and then they go to school and they get some funding for their schooling, and then they go and serve. So there's a lot of different paths you can take, and you can get a lot of education while you're in the service as well. You can learn a trade that then you can get a job with when you get out. Um, but just a couple of the different ways, there that a student could do it. I do think it's something you don't take lightly,
Hmm.
especially as an 18-year-old. And I think I've even seen where high schools don't allow the military to come in and recruit at like a college fair, and they're not allowed to have a table there
Hmm.
because they feel that, it's too much for an 17, 18-year-old to process on their own.
Hmm. Yeah, I have talked to students who were talking about joining the military, but only for the scholarship money. And I always tried to get them to think carefully about what it meant to be in the military,
Mhm.
and to have your life sort of dictated to that
Mhm.
extent, to the discipline
Mhm.
that's required, and the regimentation. I think it's fair to
Mhm.
say that, right? So I was wondering, since your daughter went into it, like, would you say there's a particular kind of student that might be an especially good match for the military, or what should they do to find out if this is valid for them or if it's just not going to be the right environment for them?
I think, she was able to shadow an ROTC cadet while she was a senior in high school. So she went to a college campus, spent a day as a cadet, which really kinda helped, talking to as many people who were in it. You used the word regimented, that's you know, um, and that was my daughter, a 3-sport athlete, but, her bag was always packed. She was on time in the
Hmm.
car with her lunch and her uniform and never forgot it. I'm like, I don't know how it happened, but, um one of the other things I would bring up is, she has the opportunity now where she could go to grad school and the Army would pay for it. But
Hmm.
again, she would have to sign on for 4 more years or 3 more years or something like that. It's like, it's tempting, that they would pay for your graduate education, but then, do I want to stay? Do I want to leave when my 4 years is up? So it's always that kind of carrot in the in the horse, if you're enjoying it and you want to stay, you could really, continue to get your education for free and commit to more years along the way.
Hmm. Yeah, and I do think it's valid to talk about how you can get a lot of skills in the military, and you can get credit for some of the things you study. Like there's a language institute, I think Monterey Language Institute through the military. At Reed, we gave credit for almost nothing, but we gave credit for their language classes because they were
Mhm,
so strong. And a lot of colleges were far more generous than Reed and would give kind of like life experience credits and
mhm,
for the types of skills that you would have. So there are a
right,
lot of benefits, but you do need to make sure, don't just do it for the money. Do it because there's something about the life
right,
that
right,
genuinely appeals to you. I think that's
right.
quite important. So,
That's true. I would 100% agree.
yeah, yeah. But it doesn't sound like she has any regrets. The only question is whether she's going to stick with it or not.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. Yes.
All right. All right. Well, any last comments, anything else or um
Um, I would say, I have talked to military families and, you know, I'll be honest that, in the service, you don't make a ton of money. You're not
mhm,
a corporate employee making, big 401ks and things like that. So they often struggle to pay for their kids' education. So definitely look into the scholarships. And if
mhm.
you can pass on your veterans benefits to your child to help them through college so you don't have to take on that debt.
Mhm. Okay. All right. All right, Lori, that was very, very helpful. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, Sally. Happy to be here.
All right, I think I'm just going to do a quick school spotlight. I wanted to tell all of you about Bryant University. It's a small college in Smithfield, Rhode Island, only for students who are serious about studying business, but they still want a liberal arts education. It's really well known for its international business program, located 1 hour from Boston. All classes taught by full professors, not graduate students. And the school boasts that 99% of recent grads are either employed or enrolled in graduate school within 6 months of graduation. It's about 3,400 undergraduates, and they really study business through an interdisciplinary lens. So, all students who pursue a major in the College of Business complete a minor through the College of Arts and Sciences. And there are many valuable programs like biotechnology, communication, legal studies, math, and the same requirement holds true for liberal arts majors seeking out complementary business minors. Bryant is committed to international engagement, and there's a lot of opportunities for students to connect with other cultures. Nearly half of all undergraduates, for example, study abroad and take advantage of the sophomore international experience. So, whether you're studying culture and business in China or business design and innovation in Italy, students at Bryant are committed to becoming leaders in a global economy. All right. I always like to highlight the different additional colleges. And so for my final outro, I want to remind all of you that you don't have to listen to our shows live. Every show is accessible 24/7 on the Voice America website. And you can also download every show for free on iTunes. And if you want to search for a particular show topic, you can go to our blog page at blog.getintocollege.com. That's blog.getintocollege.com. And last, don't forget, we're here every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And actually, next week, just so you know, Beth Heaton will be talking with her guests about how to show demonstrated interest during COVID-19 and regular decision results, and what to do if you're a senior who has been waitlisted. All right, thanks so much.